Previously on the channel, I did a video ranking and talking about the new quarterbacks from the MAC, and today we're going to continue the series and talk about the quarterbacks from the SEC. The SEC is absolutely loaded from top to bottom with quarterback talent, and in today's video, I'm going to introduce you to all the starters, talk about who they are, and also go ahead and give you a ranking. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you didn't support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's go ahead and get started and talk about the SEC quarterbacks for 2025. Okay, so the first guy I want to talk about at number 16 is Zach Calzada. He'll be the starting quarterback for the Kentucky Wildcats, and if you're an SEC fan, this name sounds familiar. Going back in time, Calzada was a 3-star recruit coming out of the state of Georgia, and he would arrive at Texas A&M all the way back in 2019. He played sparingly until 2021 when he became the starter after Haynes King got hurt, and Calzada threw for 2,200 yards with 17 touchdowns and had that notable victory over Alabama. He would then transfer to Auburn but never saw the field, and then transferred again to Incarnate Word. In his last 2 years there, Calzada's been pretty insane, as he's had nearly 7,000 yards and over 50 combined touchdowns. He decided to transfer to Kentucky for his final year of eligibility, and he will replace Brock Vandegrift, who was pretty terrible last year. And Calzada's sort of an unknown because he played at the FCS level, and when he was in the SEC, wasn't all that good. That's why I have him at number 16. At number 15, we have Mississippi State quarterback Blake Shapen. He'll end up beating out two big-time players behind him, including former 5-star Luke Kromenhoek, and Shapen will be on his final year, in year 2 under Jeff Lebby. Going back in time, Shapen was also a 3-star recruit, as he came from Shreveport, Louisiana, and was the number 27 pro-style quarterback all the way back in 2020. Shapen would not get a chance to play much at Baylor until 2022, as in his first season as a starter, he threw for 2,800 yards and 18 touchdowns. He did struggle with interceptions. In 2023, Shapen was once again back, throwing for 2,200 yards and 13 touchdowns, but then he would transfer to Mississippi State. He ended up having 974 yards and 8 touchdowns before he got hurt and was lost for the remainder of the season. Shapen is back in 2025, and I guess is going to be the starter for them, but I wish they'd play Luke Kromenhoek instead, and I have him ranked at number 15 for now. At number 14, we have Tennessee quarterback Joey Aguilar. Nico Iamaleava probably would have been ranked a lot higher on the list, but he unexpectedly went to UCLA. Joey Aguilar is now going to be their starter, and he's had quite the career. He went to Freedom High School, where he had nearly 6,000 yards and 59 touchdowns while he was there, but ultimately was not good enough to play at a high level, so he went to the City College of San Francisco. He first went there in 2019, and then transferred to Diablo Valley College ahead of 2020. He spent a couple of years there before eventually transferring all the way up to Appalachian State. In both 2023 and 2024 combined, Aguilar had nearly 7,000 passing yards and nearly 60 combined touchdowns, so he was really solid. He was eventually going to transfer to UCLA, but after what happened with Nico, the two I guess just flipped schools. He'll have to pick up Josh Heupel's offense pretty quick, and if he does, he could be higher on the list, but for now, he's at number 14. Following in the footsteps of both Matt Corral and Jackson Dart, the next great Ole Miss quarterback is hopefully going to be Austin Simmons. Right now, he's ranked a little bit lower on the list because he's very young and very inexperienced. Going back in time, he came out of Moorhaven High School in Florida and was originally the number 19 quarterback in the class of 2023. Simmons made waves for being a 16-year-old to pretty much enroll at Ole Miss, and he passed for 3,200 yards and 27 touchdowns his final season. Simmons has now played at Ole Miss for 2 years, and last year he got on the field a bit, throwing for a total of 282 yards and 2 touchdowns, most notably coming in for Jackson Dart in the Georgia game. Everybody's saying that Simmons is going to be really good this year, but he'll have to battle it out with a couple of other guys. Either way, this is probably Simmons' job to lose, and for now, he's just very inexperienced, and we have no idea what we are going to get with him. Our next guy is going to be Beau Pribula from Missouri. He ended up going to Central York High School and grew up a die-hard Penn State fan. In his couple of years at Central York, he put up incredible numbers, as in total, he passed for 5,826 yards, 73 touchdowns, 1,200 rushing yards, and 33 rushing scores. Pribula was only a 3-star recruit though, and would choose to go to Penn State. He was in the same class as Drew Aller, and ended up sort of being in his shadow. Pribula was compared to Trace McSorley, and in his 2 years, he didn't start a game, but he did see ample action on the field. He combined for nearly 400 yards and 9 passing touchdowns, and also had nearly 600 yards and 10 touchdowns on the ground. Based purely off potential, he has a really high ceiling and is a good get for Mizzou, but right now he is still battling it out with Sam Horn for the starting job. I think Bo wins it and could end up going higher up the list, but for now, this is where I have him. The Alabama Crimson Tide are the next team we're going to talk about, and they have a new starting quarterback in Ty Simpson as they move on from Jalen Milroe. Ty Simpson has been talked about for quite some time, as going to Westview High School in Martin, Tennessee, Simpson put up big numbers and started since he was a true freshman. In his best season, he threw for 2,900 yards with 41 touchdowns and 3 picks, and also had 11 more scores on the ground. He was considered the top quarterback in that 2022 cycle for quite some time, and chose to go to Bama over Clemson. This was absolutely a huge win for Bama, but so far in his 3 years, Simpson has not done much. He was a backup from 2022 to 2024, and has yet to throw a passing touchdown. We don't really know what we are getting in Simpson at this point, but he's presumably going to be the starter, was a 5-star at one point, and by now should be comfortable in that offense, so hopefully he'll be pretty solid, but for now there are a lot of question marks surrounding him. Another big-time SEC program that's in a similar spot is the Georgia Bulldogs, as they will have Gunnar Stockton coming in. Carson Beck would decide to transfer over to Miami. Gunnar Stockton was a pretty big deal coming out of high school. He was from the city of Tiger, Georgia, and according to 24/7 Sports, he was the number 7 quarterback in the class of 2022. Stockton sort of put up video game-like numbers while he was in high school, as during his senior season, he threw for 4,134 yards and 55 touchdowns with only 1 interception. In total, Stockton ended up having nearly 14,000 career passing yards, 177 passing touchdowns, 4,400 rushing yards, and 77 rushing touchdowns. He played in Class 2A, which made some people think he wasn't going to be all that good, and so far, sort of like Simpson, he's just been buried behind some good players. In 2023, he threw for 148 yards and 2 touchdowns, and last year, he ended up playing in 6 quarters, as he helped them win the second half of the 2024 SEC Championship, and then started against Notre Dame in the college football playoff. He had 440 yards with 1 touchdown and 1 pick. I assume that Stockton's probably going to be pretty good this year, but at the same time, some think he was in over his head in that Notre Dame game, and that he has bust potential. I think he has a chance to definitely move up the list, but for now, I also remain a bit skeptical. Moving over to the Auburn Tigers, I now have Jackson Arnold. He wasn't all that great last year, but I think Arnold is going to take a major step up in 2025, and he still has a lot more experience than some of the guys below us. Going back in time, Jackson Arnold went to Denton Guyer High School and was absolutely incredible. While he was there, he became the 2022-23 Gatorade National Football Player of the Year, ended up going 28-3 in 2 seasons as a starter, and had over 7,000 yards and 67 passing touchdowns. Jackson Arnold was absolutely legit, and because of that, he was listed as a 5-star recruit. Arnold ended up becoming the number 4 overall quarterback in the class of 2023 and the 8th best player. Jackson Arnold was supposed to be the next big thing in Oklahoma and played in their bowl game against Arizona in 2023 before taking over as the starter in 2024. I think they made a mistake in having Seth Luttrell as their offensive coordinator, and that combining with a bad scheme and some injuries in the receiver room helped Arnold have a terrible year. He only threw for 1,400 yards with 12 touchdowns, but he was solid on the ground, having nearly 500 yards and 3 scores there. He decided to transfer over to Auburn for the 2025 season, where he will most likely be the starter, and hopefully Hugh Freeze can get the most out of him. People forget this guy was arguably the top quarterback in his high school class at one point, and I think he's going to put it all together this year at Auburn. Ranked right ahead of Jackson Arnold, we're to talk about Marcel Reed. He is the starting quarterback for Texas A&M after he took over towards the end of last season. Going back in time, Marcel Reed went to Montgomery Bell Academy, which was located in Nashville, and became the best quarterback in school history there. He ended up having 6,300 yards and 62 touchdowns through the air, while also rushing for 2,300 yards and 38 more. After originally committing to Ole Miss, he would flip to Texas A&M and was considered a 4-star recruit and the number 20 quarterback in the class of 2023. Reed played a little bit towards the end of the 2023 season, but took over last year after Connor Weigman was terrible. Reed threw for a total of 1,800 yards with 15 touchdowns and also ran for nearly 600 yards and 7 scores on the ground. He's definitely one of the more electric quarterbacks in the SEC, but he definitely needs to bulk up, and we'll see how he can do as the full-time starter now. I definitely think he is really solid and has a chance to do big things at A&M. I think without a doubt, the biggest boom or bust quarterback on the list this year is Arkansas quarterback Talon Green. People have been talking about him for a long time, as they consider him a freak athlete and sort of a freak player. Going back in time, Talon ended up going to Louisville High School, which is located in Texas, and he put up good numbers while he was there. He ended up throwing for 2,200 yards and 25 touchdowns, but at 6'6", he was massive. If he could be properly developed, he could be a star. Boise State decided to take a chance on him, and according to 24/7 Sports, Talon was a 3-star recruit, the number 79 quarterback, and barely ranked outside the top 1,200 in the class of 2021. Green would eventually get a chance to play in 2022, as he had over 2,000 yards and 14 touchdowns, and also ran for nearly 600 yards and 10 more scores. He was widely considered the best returning quarterback in the Mountain West, but he had a disappointing 2023 campaign before he would transfer over to Arkansas to replace KJ Jefferson. This past year, Talon threw for 3,200 yards with 15 touchdowns, and he also had 600 yards and 8 scores on the ground. People didn't really talk about him that much because Arkansas was not winning football games, but Talon definitely has NFL potential, and we'll just have to see if he can put it all together. His ceiling is extremely high, but he could also be a bust. For now, we'll just have to wait and see. Ranked right in front of Talon, we need to talk about Florida quarterback DJ Lagway. He's one of the most hyped up quarterbacks on this list, and the true sophomore really does have a lot of potential. Lagway ended up going to Willis High School in Texas and had an incredible senior year in which he had over 4,600 yards and 58 touchdowns. Because of that, he became the 2023 Gatorade Player of the Year, and in total at Willis, he had 8,300 yards and 100 touchdowns. Because of that, he was a 5-star recruit, the number 1 quarterback, and the 3rd best player in the class of 2024. Lagway was supposed to just be on the bench last year, but after Graham Mertz got hurt, he would have to come in. In total, Lagway threw for just under 2,000 yards with 12 touchdowns, but he showed immense potential. With a full offseason to prepare, he should be even better, but there's a lot of rumors and speculation about him being hurt. He's one of the hardest quarterbacks to grade on this list because his ceiling is so high and he should be good, but we don't know if he's even going to get on the field. Ranked right in front of him will be quarterback Arch Manning from Texas. Some people might disagree with his placement on the list, but for now, Manning has not yet been a starter, so ranking him that absurdly high doesn't make sense to me. You guys all know the story. He was the number 1 recruit in the nation and put up big numbers while he was at Isidore Newman High School in New Orleans. Throughout his high school career, he was a 4-year starter and became one of the best quarterbacks in a long time. He had over 7,300 yards and had 93 career touchdowns. The guy was a 5-star and chose to go to Texas, where in the last 2 years, Manning has played sparingly. That's because they obviously had Quinn Ewers, but last year as a backup, Manning threw for 939 yards and 9 total touchdowns. He's expected to take the jump this year, become a top 5 draft pick, and potentially be the best quarterback in the SEC, but for now, it is all hype. We'll have to wait and see how he does, but he could easily move up this list here soon. Ahead of Manning, we have one of the more experienced starters in the SEC, and that is Diego Pavia. Before people lose their minds down in the comment section below, this list is based on kind of what you've done so far, and it's not me projecting where they'll be at the end of the year, but instead where they are right now. Diego Pavia has been playing football for quite some time, as he went to Volcano Vista High School in New Mexico, and eventually went to New Mexico Military Institute, as he had no FBS attention. He would then transfer over to New Mexico State, where in 2022 and 2023, he combined for about 4,000 yards and 50 touchdowns, and then would transfer to Vanderbilt. He followed some of his staff from New Mexico State to Nashville, and last year Pavia ended up throwing for 2,300 yards with 20 touchdowns and 4 picks, and he also ran for 800 yards and 8 touchdowns. He notably helped upset Bama, and he also notably makes a lot of attention on social media and gets a lot of people talking. He's very fired up about the game, and ultimately I think Pavia will probably drop on the list as the season goes on, but for now, he is one of the more experienced quarterbacks in the SEC. At number 3, I have LSU quarterback Garrett Nussmeier. Nussmeier was a 4-star recruit and ended up going to Marcus High School, which was located in the state of Texas. The son of a college football coach, Nussmeier became a 4-star recruit and the number 19 quarterback in his high school class. He would arrive at LSU back in 2021, and he would wait his turn. He was stuck behind Jaden Daniels, and finally, he would take over in 2024. This past season, Nuss threw for over 4,000 yards with 29 touchdowns and 12 picks, but he sort of fell apart a bit in the month of November, and LSU lost steam. Everybody thinks Garrett Nussmeier is a surefire first-round draft pick next year, and I think he has all the potential in the world, but can he put it all together? That's the big question mark. Can he actually win the big games and make those electric plays? That's sort of what I'm waiting on, but Garrett is a really good quarterback. And number 2, we have South Carolina quarterback LaNorris Sellers. Going back in time, he went to South Florence High School in Florence, South Carolina, and for a while LaNorris was just a 3-star recruit. He ended up flipping between Syracuse and Virginia Tech before he would eventually end up at South Carolina. Sellers put up good numbers as he had nearly 3,000 yards and 45 touchdowns, while also only having 2 interceptions. The guy also ran for over 1,000 yards and 17 touchdowns and was bumped up to a 4-star recruit on 24/7 Sports and was the number 18 quarterback in the class of 2023. He had a couple of magical throws for the Gamecocks behind Spencer Rattler in 2023, and then he took over as the starter this season. Sellers ended up throwing for 2,500 yards with 18 touchdowns, and he also completed 66% of his passes. He was a big play waiting to happen, had that incredible game-winning run against Clemson, and he also had nearly 700 yards and 7 touchdowns on the ground. Sellers is seen as a first-round draft pick and potentially the most exciting quarterback in the SEC, but the guy who I personally have at number 1 is going to be John Mateer. As many of you know, I'm really high on the Oklahoma Sooners this year, and I think John Mateer is the main reason for that. Coming out of Little Elm High School in Texas, Mateer was going under the radar. He was by far the best player on his team, as during his career, he had over 7,000 passing yards, 66 touchdowns, and then over 1,000 more yards on the ground. He was an absolute star, but according to 24/7 Sports, Mateer was only a 3-star recruit and the number 119 quarterback in the class of 2022. He ended up being stuck behind Cam Ward for his first 2 seasons, but then Mateer took off in 2024, throwing for 3,139 yards and 29 touchdowns, and he also ran for 826 yards and 15 touchdowns. He was one of the most athletic quarterbacks in the country, had practically the most all-purpose yards, and there's nothing he can't do. In my opinion, he was the number 1 transfer quarterback in the nation, and he follows his offensive coordinator to Oklahoma. Oklahoma should be in a good spot with him, and on paper, he is my favorite quarterback in the SEC. But what do you guys think? What do you think I got right and wrong? Where do you have your quarterbacks ranked, and which conference should I do next? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out one of the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.